I made a dress, one that I sort of traced and created a pattern out of, but I didn't have total recollection of, so I guess it's a dress from scratch really. With hand-painted tiny California coastal flowers all over using called batik technique. This dress is not for me, it's for my sister who happens to live on the other side of the country, New York to be exact, and it's going to be a surprise. Long story short, she got engaged, so I want to make a gift. Also, her birthday is coming up. Also, there's so much significance behind this entire project because she got proposed to at the location where the flowers grow, and we've been camping there since children. And we're gonna go with this and this. I did, however, need to test something out first. Here are a few fabric samples, which is hemp material sourced locally, and I want to use this fabric in particular. We need to see if I will be able to paint on it using batik technique before I go ahead and order the fabric. Yay! Dye is not shooting out and resist is applying smoothly. I'll go over the process more in depth further in the video. Let's make a sketch of the dress. I remember it being a pretty simple dress. Short, like so. Approaching this confidently because although she's thousands of miles away, her and I are pretty much the same size and shape. We used to steal each other's clothes. Well, I kind of still do, so I don't really need her here. And I want to maybe add puff sleeves. Are they still in? Creating a mock-up from a pattern I currently have to see if it needs any adjustments. I would like to create shirring on the center back panels by sewing elastic channels and inserting the elastic strip. However, I need to figure out how to go about it and also attach an invisible zipper to the complicated piece. So this is option 1 for the back panel onto which the zipper is going to be attached. And then on the other side, obviously it's going to be the same thing. I also created something a little more intense over here. I don't think I'm gonna go with this one because it's just, not only is it difficult to make, I think it's a bit too much for this dress. The fabric I'm using is very light and airy, and this is very stiff. And then the sleeves. Actually, hold that thought. I would like for the dress to last a bit longer than a few seasons, and although puffy sleeves are pretty cool, I think they're gonna be out pretty soon, or sooner or later. I am going to create long, thin straps instead, which you can adjust. Alright, we have a mock-up. Only a few adjustments. I will probably add 3/8 of an inch to the bosom of the dress and then adjust the pattern as well so that all the seams align. To keep me sane, I sketched out the flowers beforehand and made sure everything flowed beautifully. Tracing the final pattern onto a large sheet of paper, which I then used as a guide for painting the flowers in fashion fabric. Yay! Hemp fabric has arrived. It feels a lot like linen, but it repels dirt better and it's great to wear during summer. Well, just like linen. Washing hemp fabric improves the overall quality of the fibers. It also softens it. This particular fabric already felt amazing. I am mainly trying to take it a step further and pre-shrink the fabric so that there are no issues after it is dyed. The material goes through a setting process, which will require the fabric to become wet again. While the fabric is still damp, we want to press and remove the creases. This garment will forever need to be pressed. It creases like crazy, like linen again. Now we want to stretch the fabric onto a frame. Make sure that the warp and weft run straight in both directions. It'll come in handy when you start thread tracing the pattern of the dress onto the material such as linen or hemp. It's also really easy to thread trace in straight of grain where the pattern requires it to be so. such as on the center front panels of the dress. The fibers of the fabric are very visible and easy to follow. And then I began testing. Apart from figuring out the whole flower situation, a nice dye color for the overall dress needs to be created. So I mixed various dye colors to get the perfect, if there's such a thing, shade and color. Now we want to transfer these flowers over here onto the fabric, which is a bit of a process. Thankfully, this particular material is somewhat see-through and I was able to see and pin the outline of the sketched flowers underneath the fabric. This weird, suspicious looking tool is very delicate. It's very fine glass and has a tiny little opening that allows resins to pour out consistently, so long as it is used and cleaned properly. After I cooked resins outside, it contains dangerous fumes. And enjoyed little baby chicks, we can start tracing the flowers with an applicator. The dye that is then applied within the boundaries of resins will stay contained within the shape created so long as resins is applied properly. This is a little complicating. Oh. Trace carefully and consistently, and don't let your hands shake or your lines will look ugly. It takes some practice. And now, onto the more relaxing part of batik, which is dyeing the fabric. The first coat came out very subtle. There's especially little variation in color or tonality when the dye dries, so it's a matter of building the color up over time and allowing the dye to dry in between the coats. Background is painted a solid gray blue. So long as the fabric is tightened well onto the frame and you paint the entire piece while the dye is still wet, sort of overlapping the paint as you move down, I found that everything dries quite evenly. The dye is applied further away from the resin's outline, and over time the paint saturates everything around the flowers. So cool to watch. And then I went in and added a second coat to help the flowers pop. And here's where things almost came to a halt. So I ran a few test dye setting batches, and here's what happened. Nothing good. Whether the fabric was properly steamed, soaked in diluted water and salt and vinegar, or washed with synthropol, the dye bled or completely disappeared altogether. There was no solution. So, turns out if you use reactive Procyon dyes on cellulose fabric, and I've only worked on silk before, the fabric needs to be pre-soaked in soda ash. Do I have soda ash? Yes, I do. Did I use it? No, because I never read instructions. My last hope was to add soda ash to Procyon dye, paint the flowers for the third time, and allow soda ash to soak the material. Like in the hopes that it'll retain most of the color. Then I dyed strips of fabric which will be used to create straps. The color does fade, it's a given. About 30% of the color washes out in a bath, but I was still able to save this project. Phew. The work is then put through the most effective and safe process to fix the colors to the fabric known to me, which is steaming. There are multiple ways to steam the fabric, but the one most important part is not to get water on the fabric during the process. These water stains will forever be ingrained in your artwork. And after fabric is properly steamed, it needs to be quickly unwrapped and placed into a bath. And then given the fabric a quick wash in soda ash again. Meanwhile, I'm also going to dye the lining fabric, which is the same exact hemp material as the fashion fabric. I think I eyeballed and guessed what dye colors to mix in order to get a certain type of dark blue, which actually worked out quite well. Now we soak all the fabric and let it sit for a very long time. And here, please someone tell me what it is I'm doing because I can't remember. Why am I going back and forth? What the heck? We can finally start sewing! So we will now mark and thread trace for precision, because everything needs to be perfect, no room for error. I used yarn as temporary guide to wrap around and sew extremely tiny straps. I kid you not, they probably took half a day to sew and flip them inside out. It was like a struggle. Even though it looks effortless, it's a lie. Alright, so the fashion fabric is now pressed. We want to cut out the pieces and stay stitch along the neckline and waistline to prevent fabric distortion. And then I'm sewing the panels at the top together. Both the lining and front panels are connected by sewing in one direction, meaning if you start sewing from the top going down, do so in every panel. It prevents further fabric pulling and distortion. Cut off excess seam allowance to reduce bulk, then pin where the straps will go. Just in the opposite direction, please. Not whatever it is I'm demonstrating here, because all of this will be flipped after the front and lining are sewn together at the neckline. And then we press again. Always press. And top stitch in the back, attaching only the lining to the seams so that everything stays in place. Now onto the back panels and creating the shearing effect. I don't know what it is about sewing, but it's so relaxing. It's so much fun. And then we want to attach the back center panels to the rest of the top, which will involve some hand sewing. First I basted to hold the panels together. Machine stitched the front of the fashion fabric together. Sewn the lining with an invisible hand stitch to hide all the thread and allow for a clean finish. Regarding the skirt portion of this dress, I kind of went and now I started using my tailoring skills, or lack thereof. I tailor tacked the fashion fabric and lining together so that both panels are exactly the same shape and size, and thread traced the individual pattern pieces again to use as guide where to sew the skirt panels. And so here it is. For the top, the lining fabric was treated as lining, and then for the bottom, I treated the lining fabric as underlining. So pretty much the fashion fabric and the underlining fabric behind it, which is also called backing, were treated as one piece. Whatever it is I was doing to the front, I was doing to the back at the same time. Now, attaching the skirt to the top of the dress, it's been done so exactly the same way the shearing panel was attached to the back of the top. So the fashion fabric is attached to the waistline using a sewing machine, while the lining is hand sewn with yet another invisible hand stitch. And then for extra security, I top stitched the lining to the seams of the skirt. Did not trust my hand sewing all that much. Don't forget to grade because it really helps to reduce bulk. And now onto the hidden zipper that everybody hates to talk about, but oh, I will. I'm using silk organza as stabilizer. Then the panels where the zipper is attached are temporarily stay stitched, pressed. The hidden zipper is aligned exactly on center, hand basted on both sides to hold in place. The temporary stay stitch is removed, and the zipper is attached permanently with the zipper foot to the dress via sewing machine. And these are the very last steps. I want to hide the right edge of the back seam with the bias tape, so some sewing machine and various fancy hand stitching later, this portion is complete. And for the very last step, I found a kind enough person to mark the hemline for me. There are many other methods that can be used. This one is all mine. And then I stitch the hemp. Hemp. I've been working with this material for too long. Which was the very last step using a catch stitch method. Oh, and for those who are curious, I don't think I've ever showed what the inside of the dress looks like. This is what it looks like. Very clean. Pretty much just as clean as the outside. You could probably wear it inside out. Although the zipper is going to be kind of not aesthetically pleasing or functional, I guess. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
So cute.
This is so pretty. This is the most thoughtful gift, besides your engagement ring, I've ever received. I'm going to cry. Thank you, Anya. It's beautiful. Look at this.
Yes.
It's beautiful. Cirilla, come here. Come here. On the table. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope my little sister enjoys the dress. I may or may not sew her wedding dress next and make a video about it in the future.